Business news now. Stephen Carroll here with me for that. Hello there.
Hi, Catherine.
We're going to be starting off with news of a major takeover that looks to be back on again after an earlier rejection.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like a sort of troubled relationship, but this is to do with the German company Bayer that's hoping to buy the US seeds firm Monsanto. Bayer says that it's now in advanced talks to acquire the company, having upped its offer by $2.50 a share to $127.50. That's valuing the company at $65 billion. Two earlier offers had been rejected by the American group in July. If this deal goes through, it will create the world's biggest agrochemicals company. It'll also be the biggest acquisition of a foreign firm by a German company in 18 years.
All right, well, from an on-off relationship to a rescue plan, this is for a company that was quite literally left all at sea. Very serious situation, in fact, for some of its employees. Dozens
of vessels, in fact, to South Korea's Hanjin Shipping had been stranded at sea since Friday when the firm filed for receivership. Its parent company has now stepped in with $90 million of emergency funding to help bail it out. That may not be enough, though. The company may have to seek further help from the South Korean government. Brian Quinn has the story.
Hanjin Shipping finally thrown a lifeline. The shipping giant, South Korea's largest and the 7th largest in the world, entered receivership in Seoul last week and has filed for bankruptcy protection in dozens of countries. More than half the vessels in its fleet have been stuck in ports or stranded outside, unable to pay docking and unloading fees. On Tuesday, parent company Hanjin Group announced it would bail out the listing shipping unit with just over 81 million euros, including over 32 million euros from the personal fortune of Chairman Cho Yang-ho, following demands from South Korea's government that Hanjin Group take action to resolve the crisis. Hanjin Shipping has seen mounting losses since the financial crisis of 2008. Its debt is estimated at 4.75 billion euros. It posted a net loss of roughly 384 million euros for the first half of 2016, with losses of around 974 million euros over the past 3 years. Its troubles are symptomatic of a widespread downturn in the global shipping industry, the worst in 6 decades. Slowing growth in both global trade and the Chinese economy have sent freight rates falling, already troubled by overcapacity on giant new vessels. Hanjin Group's lifeline still falls short of the fees its shipping unit must pay to offload current cargoes. It remains unclear if the South Korean government or banks will provide additional funding.
Let's check in on what's happening on the markets for you, starting with the price of oil. We'd seen huge volatility on the oil market on Monday after Russia and Saudi Arabia said they'd work together to create stability in the market. Things a little bit calmer today. Brent crude up by just about 0.5%. WTI crude in the United States up by over 2%, though. On the stock markets, shares in Europe generally opening higher at the start of trading. Gains are pretty moderate, though. Bayer shares down around 0.5% after that news. They'd upped their offer to buy Monsanto. Over in Asia, a pretty quiet day on the markets there as well. We've just seen things firming up towards the end of the trading day in Asia. Those gains had been even lower, would you believe, as the trading day has gone on. Investors were keeping an eye on the Reserve Bank of Australia to see if they were going to change interest rates. They didn't in the end. So as a result, we've seen Asian shares closing up by just around 0.25 to 0.5%.
Sorry, just going to move on with some news from Vietnam.
Yes, Airbus has signed a deal to sell 40 planes to companies in Vietnam. Their sales worth $6.5 billion. Vietjet is to buy 20 A321s, while the national carrier Vietnam Airlines is to buy 10 A350s. The low-cost carrier Jetstar Pacific is also buying 10 A320 planes. Those deals signed during the state visit of President Francois Hollande to Vietnam.
Indeed, and he oversaw the signing of those deals himself. All right, one final story, moving on from men in suits to women in suits, perhaps. A new study that debunks the theory about women not asking for pay rises. Apparently we do.
The commonly kind of used used theory to explain the part of the gender pay gap is that women ask for pay rises simply less often than men. But a study by the Cass Business School in the UK of 4,600 workers say that there's no evidence that that's the case. Now, this is based on data from an Australian survey. Australia is thought to be the only country that actually has data on people asking for pay rises. The research says there's no evidence that women ask less often than men, but when they do ask, in like-for-like cases, men were 25% more likely to get a pay rise when they asked for one.
Why, Stephen? Why is that?
I don't have an answer to that question.
Well, I'd like you to find out. It's very interesting research, though. And like you say, it certainly debunks a myth about
that women
not.
don't ask.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So next step, we need to actually get those pay rises. Thanks very much for now.